Humans aren't born out of laying around on their asses. We're the dominant species. We built all this. We're powerful, and we're beautiful, and we're ready to build the next level of civilization in God's plan. If you love God and you want to build a pro-human future, you must become the victor. But you have to believe in yourself first. This is the truth, and everyone knows it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you may be familiar with a phenomenon in Hollywood and in the gaming industry of failing upwards. It's an inexplicable thing where people can be responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damage to a brand, sales collapsing. You can watch as an entire decade's worth of work is just unraveled due to the ego, due to the politics, due to the left-wing fanaticism of people that are in positions of authority that don't deserve to be there. And yet, for some reason, the idea of firing these people, getting them out, purging them from the system is just, it's unthinkable. So, in the case of Ghost of Yotei, we can take a look and see that there are writers from Dragon Age the Veilguard, a game that basically sunk BioWare. Let's be honest here. When you have less than 100 employees, you had to basically purge your entire roles because your game did that badly, and you have those people that are working on this other game. If you're a business, what are you doing? This seems like incredible mismanagement. This guy, John Dombrow, whoever the hell is, I don't care what his name is. His name is Mud. You work on a game as a writer for Dragon Age the Veilguard, your name is Mud. How is it that these people keep getting jobs? And if the statement is, well, he was already hired to work on this well before the Veilguard came out, then the responsible thing to do as a business is to fire this person and make it very public. That's actually what, to Lucasfilm's credit, that's what they did with David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, the people who ruined Game of Thrones. They were supposed to have their own Star Wars movie, and it became abundantly clear that these people were box office poison. These people had ruined Game of Thrones, and their reputation has never recovered and will never recover. Their entire careers were canceled because Disney came along and said, yeah, we're not hiring these people anymore. So, my point here is that it should be the norm to fire these freaks who, whether it's intentional or unintentional, it doesn't matter, the end result is the same. The end result is that your product reaches new lows, and there are people that don't have a job today because of the people on the screen. And if you look at Ghost of Yotei, you look at the people who are working on this, there are a lot of red flags here. There are a lot of red flags. It seems like these people think that if you just slightly change a recipe that the audience has told you that they detest, that they can make it work. But that's not ever going to happen. First of all, here's my opinion, and some people can object to this. I think if you have pronouns in your bio, you should be immediately disqualified. I think if you're somebody that wears a shirt like that, you should be immediately disqualified. I think there are plenty of things that you can see just from a social media page alone that would disqualify somebody for a job. Now, this is the statement that was made by this person. New PlayStation Pride 2023 merch. Games are made for everyone and are made by everyone. You're fired. If you're a freak, a disgusting, degenerate freak with this sort of mindset, you have no place in gaming. Games are not for everyone. No. There are certain people that are like certain games and certain people that are like, these games over here. But games are not for everyone. And they're not made by everyone. So already right there, your fundamental philosophy, despite you looking like a soy jack, despite you looking like a freak, you're already disqualified. And by the way, this isn't the only one. Like we go through the list, and here we go. Another he, him. Another set of pronouns in the game. We go down the list. Again. And I mean, it's just, everywhere we turn, there are people that are obviously not qualified for what they're doing. And these are the people that are making these bad decisions, not being punished for them, even though they cost the company millions and millions of dollars, even though they cost people their jobs. They're not being disciplined. They're being shuffled and reorganized and put over here or over here. They need to be fired. So this tweet says, plenty of red flags, besides the forced ugly female protagonist voiced by police-hating woke lunatic Erika Ishii, which is true. Apparently she made some really incendiary anti-police statements, which is par for the course for these freaks. And I don't get it. You know that your audience doesn't support this sort of left-wing orthodoxy. You know that the vast majority of your audience is maybe center-left, like slightly to the left. On most things, actually, gamers are more libertarian in nature, sort of like, well, don't tell me what to do sort of behavior. So if you know that, why would you hire these people that you know are not going to resonate? And make decisions that you know are not going to resonate. I know that some people may disagree with this, but when I found out that Ghost of Yotei had a female main character, I was immediately out. Now, I know that people like Jacob Weeby and others will look at that and they'll do some kind of like minute parody skit that isn't funny. And be like, oh, well, you just hate it because she's a woman. I like Stellar Blade. I like Tomb Raider. It's about a genre. It's about a time period. It's about a purpose. When I'm looking at feudal Japan, I want to play as a Japanese fighting age man. It's really that simple. If I'm playing as a medieval fantasy, I want to play as a European white man, blonde hair, blue eyes. I want to play as a knight. Kind of like the, when I say blonde hair, it doesn't have to be like bleach blonde. Like the character from Dragon Age Origins. Do you remember the trailer for Dragon Age Origins? Like, if I had to pick a perfect character, I would pick the character from Dragon Age Origins, the trailer. Let me pull it up real quick. Let's see. This is an old one, but this is what I'm talking about, hopefully. Back when BioWare was still pretty good.
Keep moving. The legend says the tomb sits atop this peak.
Lovely. We can freeze to death while digging for the bones of a madwoman.
Let's go. Just like a regular looking dude who's, badass. Looks like your typical, medieval European. If I'm playing a game in feudal Japan, I want to play as a guy that looks like he's from there. It looks like he's a Japanese fighting age man. These concepts are not they're not extraordinary. They're very, very common. But unfortunately, time and time again, these games like Ghost of Yotei are ruined by people that look like this, with ideologies that are just absolutely profane and disgusting and degenerate and wrong, and they should be called out as such. First of all, let me just say, and I know that I'm only speaking for myself, but I find pride to be a sin. I find this sort of degeneracy, especially with the inclusion of the. But by the way, yeah, the trans stuff is disgusting. But you like how they put brown and black? So they've included brown people as a shield, because that's exactly what this is. This is a disgusting, like, rainbow vomit colored shield that's designed to deflect any sort of criticism. So they're trying to bring on as many colors on board. Black and brown literally includes black and brown people. That's what they're trying to do. Even though I know many black and brown people that would be absolutely disgusted by the inclusion of them in this sort of cult. But here's what it is. When you look at this, when you see the type of people that are working on this, when you see the decisions that are being made to include people that have failed and failed spectacularly, I think it sends a very bad message. I think it sends a message that it's okay that you make these mistakes. It's okay that you continue to inject this stuff. And I think the message should be the opposite. I think these people should be afraid for their job, as anyone would be. If there's $100 million or $200 million on the line, these people should be sweating their balls off. Like, that's a fortune. That's a fortune. And to be responsible for a failure like that, you should be nervous. You should be doing everything you can every day to make sure that this is the best experience for players imaginable. You should be putting yourself out there to make sure that there's no element of the game that oversects into our world that has a nature of politics that people in the gaming buying audience detest. It's very simple. Gamers don't like LGBTQ elements in the game. It doesn't mean that gamers aren't inclusive of people who are LGBTQ. In fact, I would argue they've been too inclusive. Everyone's been too inclusive of the LGBTQ. Because the moment that they get in, they start demanding changes. They start accusing you of all manner of things. Look at Hogwarts Legacy. Hogwarts Legacy, you had a bunch of LGBTQ and their allies that were hell-bent on destroying people. Not just criticizing people, destroying people, their life, their reputation, their career. Whether that be innocent VTubers like Pikami or Silvervale, or whether that be people like Asmongold, or even Hassan was afraid to play the game because this mob of degenerate, mentally ill freaks and lunatics were going to ruin people over playing this game. Now, what great sin did the game commit? None. Other than Harry Potter was made by J.K. Rowling, and J.K. Rowling has the good sense to acknowledge that trans women aren't women. That's it, that women deserve a space free from men, which I totally agree with. I think that's perfectly reasonable, perfectly fine. Sacrificing women's rights and women's safety to capitulate to a bunch of mentally ill men is not... I agree. She's a radical feminist, and I'm a Trump-supporting, Second Amendment-believing conservative, and even I agree with her on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, my whole point in doing this video, my whole point in talking about this is because I think it's crucially important to point out the fact that this sort of failing upwards continues. It's in Hollywood, it's in the game industry, and it needs to end. When you fail, and a lot of these people fail continuously, there needs to be a ramification, there needs to be a consequence, there needs to be a punishment. And it needs to be crystal clear that there's no tolerance for this. All right? Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next time.